Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a certain change of pace, I think. We feature a lot of the largest works by the biggest composers, orchestral pieces, chamber pieces, extended works. But now it's the holiday season, and I've gotten requests to do Christmas music. And I couldn't care less about Christmas, as you already know, and I'm possibly the least spiritual person that you will ever talk to. And so, for those reasons, I have to be quite selective. We already did a talk on Handel's Messiah, and there are all these big, glitzy Christmas things. There's the Nutcracker, which I love, but I never listen to it during Christmas. There's Vaughan Williams' Hodier. Isn't that a great piece? No one ever does it. We got to do a talk about that. Maybe in June. You know what I mean? If I'm going to listen to Christmas music, there's Bach's Christmas Oratorio. We listed that one twice in our ideal Bach choral music lists. If I want to listen to Christmas music, I'm going to listen to it not during Christmas. In February, in August, I'm going to listen to it because it's great music. And for my money, the best piece of Christmas music that I have ever participated in, because I actually sang it in college glee club, concert choir, whatever the heck it was, is Poulenc's 4 Christmas motets. The quatre motets. What is it? Pour le temps de Noël. Yes, quatre motets pour le temps de Noël. That's what they're called. These are fabulous. And the best thing about it is that you can hear all 4 of them in 11 minutes. 12 minutes, maybe. They're glorious. I got to talk to you a little bit before we play some samples about Poulenc's Christmas music, Poulenc's choral music. I personally think Poulenc was the greatest composer of choral music in the 20th century. Bar none. Really, an astoundingly great composer of choral music. And that's an aspect of his art which a lot of people don't really know. If, like me, you start out listening to orchestral music primarily, you encounter Poulenc, who is wonderful. He's such a wonderful composer, but he's kind of a clown. You know what I mean? You hear the concert champêtre and the piano concerto and the double piano concerto, and then maybe you work your way up to like the Gloria for a piece for chorus and orchestra, and it's all just joyous and beautiful and sensual, and this unbelievably characteristic personal mixture of French street music and classical cliches and romantic harmony, and it's just this kaleidoscope of stuff. And it's like nobody else. The guy was a genius and had a very great composer. And, but his style was his style. And you think, gee whiz, he's going to write Christmas motets? You sort of ignore his religious music because he was a deeply spiritual Catholic who wrote magnificent liturgical music. Absolutely magnificent, including the Mass in G minor, which is one of the most beautiful Mass settings you'll ever hear in your life. And I was one of those people. I just ignored all of his choral music until I had the opportunity to sing these Christmas motets when I was in college. The Johns Hopkins University Glee Club, which had some really fine conductors. We had Hugh Wolf originally, and then Ken Kiesler, who are both superb conductors and knowledgeable musicians. And we did these Christmas motets. And wow, all of a sudden, my eyes opened. I had a transfiguring experience. It was amazing. The light rained down from heaven. And I realized that Poulenc, there was much more to him than Les Biches. There really, really is. Now, the fascinating thing about Poulenc's choral music is that it sounds like Poulenc. It sounds like everything else he wrote. It has exactly the same stylistic and aesthetic parameters. And somehow he adapted this to choral music and, of course, also his songs. He was one of the greatest songwriters after Schubert. He really, really was. His songs are equally magnificent. And he, I've since, studied the matter a little bit and read some biographies and things. I mean, he slaved away at finding just the right intonation and melodic line to suit the words that he was setting. And you can hear that in these motets. His choral music is really difficult. It's very difficult to sing because, on the one hand, it has this extreme simplicity of form. But even when it repeats something, he never harmonizes everything quite the same way. And I'm going to play you some examples of that. You'll hear that. It's really kind of remarkable. So when you're singing it, the intervals are strange. You never know, even though the melody is the thing that you sort of sang before, it's not going to go in the same direction. And you have to jump to some extremely dissonant and strange harmonies within this beautifully, generally speaking, diatonic, melodious context. Because he was a tune writer. He wrote beautiful tunes. But again, even there's something very, very characteristic about the way he wrote tunes. I mean, Poulenc's music occurs almost entirely in little teeny 2-bar phrases. It's unbelievable. Little 2-bar phrases. I mean, think of the finale of the double piano concerto. It goes dum ba da ba da ba da ba da ba bum da ba da ba da ba da ba dum bum bum boo doo 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 doo. I mean, it's just little tiny phrases, 2 bars, sometimes 4. Every so often, he'll throw in something in odd numbers just to keep you off balance. But it's little tiny bits. And you would think that would be absolutely hopeless for setting a text, for doing anything that requires a long singing line. But it isn't. It isn't. Somehow he manages to put everything together and assemble it in such a way that the continuity is always maintained, and it's very, very beautiful. But again, it makes it really kind of strange to perform when you're actually doing it. His music requires absolutely perfect intonation, great purity of tone, and just this sort of perfect pitch quite often, which I don't have, and a lot of people do. I mean, there were moments in these motets where you just look at it and you go, oh, okay, pick a note, any note, take the one on the bottom and just hope it's sort of around the right one. And of course, it sounds better when it's the ones he actually wrote. But in a pinch, you can get away with just sort of winging it. Fascinating, wonderful, wonderful music. And so I'm going to play you some samples, and you'll get an idea of just how perfectly he finds music to match the words of the text that he's setting. And you have to pay attention to the words because they determine what the music is going to do, as with all great composers who set a text. These are glorious. So the first one is O Magnum Mysterium. How great a mystery and how wonderful the sacrament that the animals should behold the Lord newly born and living in a stable, etc., etc. That's the first motet. Now, just listen to the opening. The words, O Magnum Mysterium, et admirabile sacramentum. That's the first line, and it's just this muttering, chant-like thing. It's just phenomenal. And then, of course, you get the full chorus comes in with the actual melody of the motet. It's so beautiful. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Just listen to it. Let me stop talking. Exquisite, isn't it? It really is. Now, the second one is, What have you seen, shepherds? Quem vidistis pastores dicite annunciate nobis. I remember it. I remember having sung it It was wonderful. We had such a good time. What have you seen, shepherds? Speak and tell us who has appeared on earth. We saw a newborn child and a choir of angels praising the Lord. And it just goes round and round and repeats and repeats. And here, as you sing the opening line, which the tenors get to do, I think, with the sopranos, the other parts are humming. They just have this sort of humming, wandering vocal line underneath. But again, quem vidistis pastores dicite annunciate nobis. It's little tiny phrases, and he just makes this beautifully continuous melody out of it. So here's Quem vidistis pastores. All right, that's number 2. Now, number 3 is When They Saw the Star, which is Videntes Stellam, which is, it's almost a chorale-like harmonization. It's so beautiful and so pure, luminous. I mean, the word is luminous. I mean, you hear, you see the star shining through the choral harmony. It's the Magi. And it's wonderful because, the Magi rejoiced with great gladness, and then they came and they gave, gold and frankincense and myrrh and that stuff. We all know about the goodies that they brought. But the point is that you have this incredibly pure harmonies for Videntes Stellam, for the light of the star, and then Magi, the mysterious wise men, right? And that is the most dissonant chord you've ever heard in your life. And every time it comes back, it's harmonized differently. So we had such a good time doing it. We went, Videntes Stellam, Videntes Stellam, Magi. It's like, and then it's Magi. It was never the same twice. We never knew if we had the right notes. All we knew is that if it sounded like some sort of, chord cluster thing, we must be doing it right. So here it is. And then the last motet is Hodie Christus natus est. Today, Christ is born. And we all know that text. Even if we're Jewish, we know that text. But here's the thing. I mean, when I was singing this back in the days, I actually, at that time, I actually had a fairly decent singing voice, believe it or not. And it had sort of a wide range. And this is before my voice got wrecked with other health issues, But the point is that they needed me on different lines because I could sing anything from second alto to bass. I was basically a tenor. And the opening of this is, Hodie Christus natus est. And I sang like everything. in that particular opening line. I sang the altos to begin with to give them a little punch. Then I jumped down to the tenors. Then I hit the bass. Hodie Salvator Parui. Oh, God, it was fun. It was so much fun. I had the best time. And this is just a joyous outpouring, of course, for the final motet with an Alleluia at the end. And here is a bit of that.
Christus natus est,
I mean, you just walk away from it going, Gloria in excelsis Deo, Alleluia, Gloria in excelsis. It's just great. Trust me, it's great. And I hope you agree that it's great. Poulenc's Christmas motets are magnificent. Now, just as good is the fact that if you want to get the Christmas motets, you are going to have to get several other things that come with them because they're only 11 minutes long. So you can either get them on miscellaneous Christmas collections, which I never buy and don't care about, or you can get them on discs of Poulenc choral music, which I do buy and do care about. And so I have 3 here, just 3. There are lots and lots of recordings of this music, but I have 3 really great ones. And they all have some sort of similar couplings because, there's only a limited amount of stuff you can couple them with that Poulenc wrote. Robert Shaw, with his Emery Institute in Quercy, France, the Robert Shaw Festival Singers. I mean, Shaw is amazing and was one of the great choral guys in the universe, and boy, did he know this music. And this disc, it's on Telarc, it's gorgeous, gives you the Mass in G minor, which is just, I keep saying, it's so beautiful. And actually, there are a couple a cappella masses I'm going to be talking about. This one, there's the Vaughan Williams and the Frank Martin. They're just all great, great choral settings, magnificent mass settings, 20th century mass settings. It might be a separate talk, and this will come up, and I can play some samples of it for you. And then the 4 motets for Christmas, and the 4 motets pour un temps de pénitence, the motets for Lent, basically, the time of penitence. And then the 4 little prayers of St. Francis of Assisi. Gorgeous, on Telarc. Also gorgeous, this one on Harmonia Mundi. This is a reissue. This is a twofer that features both secular and sacred music. You get Figure Humaine, which is his it's an Éluard setting, Paul Éluard. It's his greatest choral work. And it's a secular piece. And it's big and it's long and it's virtually impossible. It's so hard to sing. And then here you get the 7 chansons for mixed choir, the 7 songs, and you get Un Soir de Neige, his cantata, and the Figure Humaine, and the prayers of St. Francis of Assisi, and the drinking songs, which are a blast, the Chanson à boire, and then you have the Christmas motets, and the Lent motets, and the Mass in G. And this is with the RAIS Kammerchor, which is amazing, conducted by Marcus Creed. And I think Daniel Royce does some of this stuff too. Yeah, he does. But these are just amazing. Harmonia Mundi with the RAIS Kammerchor. You can't do better than that in chamber chorus. But the one I played you, and the one that is very easy to find, and I recommend wholeheartedly, is this one on Naxos with the Elora Festival Singers under Noel Edison. It's absolutely first rate. My partner, David Vernier, reviewed this on Classics Today and gave it a 10/10, and deservedly so. It's just fabulous. And in this one, you get let's see, here's the cover so you can see it. You get the 7 chansons, which we've already mentioned, the Mass in G major. I think I said G minor. It's in G major. I don't know. It's in G. Let's just leave it at that. And then the Lenten motets and the Christmas motets. Absolutely first-rate music. Glorious, glorious music. And if you're going to listen to choral music for Christmas, you don't just have to listen to Christmas music. You could just listen to beautiful choral music of any variety. Just make this time the time to expand your horizons and try out some repertoire that you may not know that well, and that's definitely worth getting to know. It will put you whether in a different mood, if not the Christmas mood. If Christmas isn't your bag, there's still no excuse for not finding out some new works, some new music, some fabulous repertoire that you might not have been aware of, and to keep on listening. Just because it's Christmas, that doesn't mean we stop, does it? Keep on listening, folks. Thank you for joining me for this little chat. Go get your Poulenc. It's a knockout. Take care.